And it's good Thursday evening. My name is Ryan Belmore, owner and publisher of What's Up Noop. It is Thursday, October 3rd at 6 p.m. We are continuing our conversations with the candidates. It has all sorts of names. Ask the candidates, one-on-one, whatever you want to call it. We are introducing you or reintroducing or chatting with the candidates about issues that you care about and issues that they care about. We've been doing this all week long. We're doing it this week and next week. So far, we have all of the first ward done. We don't have all of the second ward done yet. In the third ward, there is not a race. We're slowly crossing off each candidate for Newport City Council as well as Newport School Committee. All of the interviews can be found on whatsupnoop.com. We are doing them all again this week and next week. So stay tuned and share them. You can listen to them, watch them, read them, all available on whatsupnoop.com. Today we are at Newport City Council at Large, and Steph Smyth joins me. Steph, how are you?
Good. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing good. How's the campaign? How is the election season going?
It's great so far. I mean, I have to be honest. I'm looking forward to the end of campaign season, the end of election day. But it's been an interesting campaign season. I have to say it started off with our declarations, our signature events. This year, I wanted to do a little something different and provide more transparency and engagement to the community. So I held different signature events at various parks in Newport, invited all of the candidates to attend. I thought as a side effect of that, it'd be good for the residents to see how the candidates interact with each other and give them an opportunity to get to know each other. So, I have to say that the campaign trail has been interesting. For the most part, everybody seems to have been getting along with each other. You do see a few little passive aggressive things happening here and there more than the 2022 election. But I think that we're all ready for it to be done.
And I was going to say, for those who aren't familiar with you, you did run for office in 2022.
Yep.
From what I can remember, I don't have the number right in front of me, just missed out. And why don't you reintroduce or introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. I was born and raised in Newport, grew up here. I went to Rogers. I graduated in 92. My parents are Harry and Diane Smyth. They also grew up in Newport. And I have 5 brothers, John, Eric, Doug, Greg. Many people know Doug and Eric. They're the owners of Smyth Painting, Cabinet Revival, and Castle Keep Property Management. So I do get asked that a lot if I'm related to those Smyths. So yes. I've worked in many area hotels, restaurants. I did a brief stint with Fidelity Investments in Smithfield after I graduated from Rhode Island College. But I've spent the past 18 years working for the federal government. I worked for the Naval Undersea Warfare Center in their contracts department up until last year. And then I was recruited by the Naval War College to work in their contracts department. Also, a little bit different at Newark, I was mainly administering and approving contracts, whereas at the War College, I'm more managing the contracts. I handle their largest contract, which is for academic services. So that's been a nice change, a different environment. It's been great working at the War College. But outside of that, I've worked with local commissions, a charter review in 2022, and then the tree and open space and affirmative action commissions.
So the job has changed since 2022. Has the reason for running for office changed?
It has not. Nope. Still the same reason. I've seen Newport evolve over my past 50 years here. I want to say that over the past 10 years, I think that we've sort of hit a point where the residents, specifically your middle to lower income residents, along with your retirement age senior residents who are on a fixed income, that Newport has changed dramatically for them, as you can see with a lot of our workforce housing issues. It's at the point where it's like, okay, this is really the gentrification of Newport, and it's really greatly impacted the city, where the the Newport that I grew up with, that had a thriving residential community that also deeply supported the small businesses in Newport, has changed. We've lost that. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to run, was to help, bring that back, provide more balance between having a thriving residential Newport, along with respecting the economy and the travel and tourism industry, that what it brings to our local small businesses. But also, watching council over the years, and looking at when I applied for the job at the War College, I'm finally putting together my resume after like 17 years. And it's like, what's the point in having all of this work experience and education, knowledge, and expertise if I can't put it towards helping my community? Newport has given a lot to me over the years, and I really want to give a lot back by providing some of the skills and qualifications I have to help.
Yeah, I was going to say, how would Newport City Council or or the residents most benefit from having you as a member on the council?
Well, I think that I bring some unique qualifications to the table. Number one, with my government contracting work, I think that the city can learn a lot from how the federal government does contracts. I've seen a lot of the requests for proposals and contracts come down the pike the past couple of years, and I feel as though there's a great opportunity to help the city save some money and to get more competitive contracts out there that does cater to more local small businesses. So I think that's one way that I can help. I was a small business advocate for the government for a couple of years, so I do bring that to the table. My union work, I started out as a union steward and worked my way up to vice president. So I was on the labor negotiation team. I also dealt with a lot of grievances that I feel as though would be a great, quality to have with your counselor. And I did work with the Equal Opportunity Office, but most notably was my work with the Process Improvement Department at Newark, where I would help departments that were having issues with their processes, with their employment, whatever they were facing. I could help facilitate different lean events to help them fix their processes. So I think that that's something that our city government needs. I don't see really a set process in place that, is there to help the residents. We seem very reactive to things. And I think that we need to get to a point where we're being more proactive. We're being more future thinking and planning 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So I feel as though, my negotiation skills and just everything that I've been trained to do, especially with the government, could benefit.
I want to pivot for a minute, and it's top of mind because it just happened. But I want to talk about, around the sewer fee fiasco of the last month or so, as well as on some other issues. I try to follow all the candidates, all the members of city council. But can you talk about your communication strategy and kind of rounding up the troops and, kind of your advocacy and what's been going on in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so, I was seeing a lot on social media, people very upset about the water bill fiasco. And it was like, okay, this is a great opportunity for the city to come together and let council and our city government know that no, this is not okay. So I sent out a call to action on different social media sites, and I said, this is the workshop that's happening. It is happening in the middle of the workday. I encourage you to reach out to your city councilors. But if you can't go, let me know what questions and concerns you have, and I will help advocate for you. And, I got a lot of responses from people that were very concerned about what happened. And I think that this was a good lessons learned for our city council and government, that when you're going to make changes that are going to financially impact your residents, you need to hold some kind of educational workshop ahead of time to give the residents a chance to come out and say, hey, this is how this is going to negatively impact my quality of life. And I just wanted to prove that it's not that difficult to do. a few social media blasts or another method of doing it is a good way to kind of rally the community, which the community shouldn't be afraid to rally. They shouldn't be afraid to stand up and say, hey, you guys work for me, and this is how you're impacting me.
And that workshop was 11 a.m. in the morning a couple
Yep.
weeks ago, and was one of the most well-attended workshops that I've seen in a while. So
Yeah.
kudos to everybody who turned out for it. I hope to see you at a future city council meeting. So there's something always that affects your life on a city council docket.
Yep.
So be sure to pay attention. They meet almost every 2 weeks throughout the year, Wednesday, 6:30. Let's talk about what you see are some of the biggest issues in Newport. And of course, I want to do some solutionism here. What opportunities are there to fix some of those big issues?
So I think the biggest issues that we're facing right now is obviously the housing crisis, our infrastructure, which, to me, I don't think it's any coincidence that everything is sort of falling apart all at the same time. I know there's definitely a story there. There's definitely a trend there. But also, our education, what kind of education are our students getting? I mean, there is a number of issues in Newport right now that I think is hitting all of the residents from all different angles. And one opportunity that I personally see is our city council doesn't leverage the resources that they have enough. And for example, our boards and commissions. There's a lot of subject matter experts that are on those boards and commissions that aren't solicited enough for their research and their opinion on how to handle some of these issues. There's also, for educational institutions right in our own backyard with Salve, CCRI, the War College, Newick. Even though Newick isn't an educational institution, it's a research and development installation. And I don't see a lot of partnering with those entities to say, hey, these are the issues that our city is facing. It is going to directly impact you. Can you get involved? Can you help us with some outside of the box creative thinking solutions? Can you help us with some research? Because the issues impacting Newport right now is not something unique to Newport. It's happening all over the country. So why do we keep trying to recreate the wheel when we're coming up with solutions, when we just need better avenues to do the research and say, hey, these four seaside cities and towns are dealing with the same issue that we have. Maybe a combination of what they're going through is going to help us with some of our climate change issues or our sea level rise issues or our housing issues. But also, I don't think that we take enough advantage of soliciting our own residents. There is some extensive and exceptional knowledge and expertise right in our own community, residents that are willing and waiting to be engaged and to help out, but their solutions are falling on deaf ears. So, I think that a lot of the solutions to our problems are right here within our own city. We just need to engage it more.
I would just add IRIS to your list of educational
Yes,
institutions.
yes,
I,
yes.
I, I think it's a great idea, and I think there should almost be a one person from each
Yeah.
sit on a commission, and Newport Public Schools, of course.
Yep.
Let's stay on boards and commissions because I know this is near and dear to your heart.
Mhm.
And last election, we talked a lot about some of what came out of the Charter Review Commission and kind of what did or didn't happen out of that. So what opportunities do we have with commissions and charter reviews and getting people involved?
So I think that we have a lot of opportunities with commissions. I am a commission happy person. I like to bring, and that comes from my process improvement work, is that, when you're doing a lean event, you're bringing stakeholders from all parts of the process together to be able to come up with solutions. So I'm all for different commissions. I think that we need to have a housing commission. I think that we need to have a more active travel and tourism commission that has residents, business owners, travel and tourism entities, renters, so that we can see how travel and tourism is impacting every aspect of Newport. But I also think that we need to have a permanent charter review commission. I don't think it's something that we need to be saying, well, every 7 to 10 years, let's pull one together. Newport has grown so substantially, and yet our city government has not grown with it. And that is a good portion of the problem. And our charter is basically our livable document of how our city is governed. It is archaic. And that was one of the things that we were trying to do back in 2022, was to bring it more forward to this day and age, to add more equity, diversity, inclusion, but better ways of how our city government functions. And a couple of those ways is wanting to put out term limits and how the mayor is selected, because right now the residents, the voters, don't select the mayor. City council does. So there were a number of ideas that we threw out there for term limits. We had recommended that you couldn't serve more or run for or serve more than 4 terms. 8 years. It's, for me personally, I've said, look, if I get elected, I will run and serve 2 terms. 4 years is all I need to be able to help put policies and procedures in place that will help Newport going forward. So, I think that those are different avenues that will overall help shape our city government, but more going forward to the next generations of our Newporters. What kind of city government, what kind of city are we leaving them? I also think that we need to have some type of commission that is specifically focused on that. What are our plans in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15, 20 years? We don't appear to have any kind of plan of action on how we're viewing the future of Newport.
What would you pull from the charter commission if I give you a wand, you get elected to city council? Give me a couple things that, well, obviously you would want to put a permanent charter commission.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
yes.
then if you had the opportunity to pick 1 or 2 that you worked on, is there anything in particular you put in front of voters next time around?
Absolutely. I would definitely put term limits in front of them, and how the mayor is selected. Whether they want the selection of the mayor to be the highest vote getter, or if they want to see a specific mayoral council city manager run Newport, in which candidates would run specifically for that mayor position. It would still essentially function as the chair, have however the residents decide they want to see that main position, they would be able to determine that.
You mentioned, you would serve 2 terms, which is 4 years. What would you hope to get done? What would be a successful 4 years? What do you want to accomplish in those quick 2 terms?
Exactly. I don't think that the housing and the infrastructure and the school issues are something that can be solved that quickly. However, putting processes in place that can help us get there is what we need to do. Like I said, I'm all for adding additional commissions that can provide us with subject matter experts that can help us to get there. Also partnering with those local entities that I mentioned, but also partnering more with Middletown and Portsmouth. It shocks me how we're not more engaged with them, because what impacts us is going to impact them. So I don't see a lot of partnering with them in a way that is going to help all of Aquidneck Island. And then obviously putting more systems in place. I mean, we don't have operating procedures that are out there, that our city is, if this issue comes up, this is how we're supposed to be handling it. Or if that issue comes up, this is steps in the right direction, like playbooks on how to deal with pandemics, for example. After COVID, is there a playbook there that if there is another pandemic, how are we going to do things? How are we going to do them better so that our small businesses don't take the tremendous hit that they took? So I think just sort of getting things more organized, but I also want to set the tone for more Newporters to be able to step forward and want to run for council. I've been trying to run my campaign in a way that your average everyday Newporter could look at it and say, you know what, I can do the same thing. I don't need to have like $200,000 in my campaign finance account to be able to run for Newport. I want people to be able to say, you know what, I want to get more involved. I think that we need to have a sort of mentorship process for candidates, that those who have walked that line, that have done it and either, like myself, come close the last time or have succeeded, that can be able to say to somebody who's interested in running, okay, here's A, B, and C, and this is how you can start off. But I think that we need more mentorship of especially our younger generations. We need to be engaging, kids at the high school level, at the college level, to want to get more engaged in our city government.
With that thought process in your campaign and kind of that feel, how has the response to your campaign been? What are you hearing out there?
It's been good so far. I mean, I personally, I haven't received any, which has been nice. It has been great listening to what the residents' concerns are. And they range anywhere from, our sidewalks are a mess. We need better sidewalks. We need certain streets that are traveled very frequently to have safe sidewalks, to I'm bordering on being homeless because I'm going to be kicked out of my house because the landlord wants to turn it into a short-term rental. So I'm hearing, running the gamut from the residents as to what the issues are. But I'm feeling pretty good about the fact that they're open to want to talk. They want to talk. They want to be heard. And I think that's something that going forward that council should be doing, is having specific workshops and forums where the residents can come forward and ask council questions and get real-time answers to their concerns.
I just thought of something. I just want to jump back. We're talking about boards and commissions, and we were talking about getting kids at the high school involved. I'm very aware of a city in Virginia, as many people know, and many of their boards and commissions are required to have a student from the high school serve on the board. So there's just one idea of getting kids connected, and normally the boards and commissions will pick them up in the junior year, so they serve senior, and so they always have a young voice speaking. So that's just one idea.
Exactly. I think that's great. I actually have a friend in North Providence who, her high schooler, they actually have a youth council that is present at the council meetings and can voice their opinion on different docket items that are going to impact them. So I think that's your idea, that idea. I think there's great ways that we can engage the young individuals.
It's like a student council for the school, for school committee, and then a student council for city council. So
exactly,
with the short-term rentals, obviously affordable housing, and when you say that word, it's so confusing to so many, even me sometimes. But what were your thoughts on the recently proposed shot down short-term rental? And for those who haven't been following along, there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, confusion out there. Short-term rentals, new short-term rentals are already banned in residential zones. This was going to ban them, new ones, in business zones. What do we do about short-term rentals?
Again, I think this brings us back to having a proper workshop in which the residents, business owners, everybody involved in the short-term rental process can speak to the pros and cons of it. I am all for owner-occupied short-term rentals. There are individuals out there that this is what is helping them stay in their homes as a second job, or they're caring for family members that are ill, and this is how they're able to stay in their home in Newport. So, I do think that we need to be mindful of that. I am not for businesses out of other states that come in and buy up 4 and 5 and 6 properties, and they don't even live here, and they turn them into short-term rentals, or that they're kicking people out of their homes to turn them into short-term rentals. I think that there needs to be other ways of mitigating that and helping landlords to have some type of incentives to be able to keep renters in year round. So I think that there's a number of things that we can do as far as banning short-term rentals from the commercial parts of Newport. I'm very hesitant to want to say to a business, we're going to dictate how you do business and what kind of business that you have in this commercial zone. So I think that more research is definitely needed, more community engagement to find a way of migrating through that.
Steph, I want to make sure I have tons of questions, but I want to make sure that we get to any topic or issue that you wanted to bring up that we haven't already.
I think that we, pretty much covered all the heavy hitting issues. I just want to really focus on providing the city with more opportunities to come forward and to speak their minds. Transparency is a big thing for me. I think we can do better there. I think we can do better with our community engagement. And, we really do need to hear from the residents what's impacting you, because that's going to help council in determining how to properly vote and how the items that need that extra research, that needs that extra feedback. So, I think there's a lot of different ways that we can go about pulling the community together and really getting their feedback.
Speaking of pulling the community together, I think there's a perception, or it's real. I'm not completely sure. I'm pretty sure it's real. But the relationship between education in city government has to be improved.
Mm-hmm.
And I said perception, but if you watch any meeting that has any city council meeting that has something to do with education, you can tell it makes people feel awkward. And I'm just wondering, what do we do to improve educational outcomes, the education system in Newport? How do we finish Rogers? Anything you want to bite on there?
Yeah, so that is a big issue. There has been a divide between school committee and council for many terms, and that is something that needs to change. Council and school committee does need to learn how to work together, because you can't have a lot of this infighting or the show me the test scores and I'll show you the money mentality. Our students are the ones that are collateral damage in all of this, and they aren't even the ones that are being solicited to say, how is this impacting you? How is this preventing you from successfully getting your degree? I mean, I can't imagine what these students went through trying to get their degree in a construction zone that back when I was at Rogers in 92 was starting to have some issues. So the fact that it's taken almost 32 years for those issues to be fixed is a problem. The students are the ones that are being hurt the most. And that's something that we really need to focus more on, is how can we help the students? How can we help our teachers and get them the resources that they need to help the students be successful? To me, I don't think that it's fair for any teacher to have to open up their own bank account to buy resources that their students need for the school year. So there's a lot of different things that we need to be looking at, but we really need to be putting our teachers and our students first, and how we can help them to be successful.
And a lot of this surrounds infrastructure. the construction of Rogers. Earlier you mentioned things seem to be falling apart all at the same time. There's approximately, I don't know if it's a real number, but it's been thrown out a lot, $500 million in infrastructure improvements needed. That's not even really counting all of the Rogers projects and others. And, do you think that just was a missed opportunity or wasn't good planning? Why is everything falling apart right now?
I think it's a combination of both. And, I look at it from the perspective of, if you have an issue with your house, like say that you have an issue with your front porch, a little portion of the porch that the wood is rotting, and you say, I can't get to that right now. I have other more pressing issues. I need to have these windows replaced, or I need to have the plumbing replaced. And that kind of sits off to the side because it's more of considered a minor issue. And like the Rogers School that when I was there in 92, part of the auditorium was falling apart. And that whole section we couldn't access it because the roof needed to be fixed. There was a number of issues that were there that the city didn't have the money at the time to fix. So when you keep pushing something off to the side because it isn't urgent right now, well, yeah, in 5, 10, or 15 years, it is going to become such an urgent issue that something that you could have, paid $20,000 to fix 30 years ago, now you're looking at the millions to fix it. So that's the part that I think that we need to be more proactive in thinking, what does 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road look for our buildings, for our streets, our sidewalks, our infrastructure, the sewage system, everything that, how is Newport becoming one of the top tourist destinations in the world, impacting our direct resources and our way of life? And how can we prevent that from being catastrophic down the road?
Your website is stephsmyth.com. For our audio listeners who might not see it on the screen, it is STEPHSMYTH.com, stephsmyth.com. Any upcoming events where people can meet you? How can people contact you? Any of that good stuff?
So I'm going to be all over the city over the next 3 weeks, knocking on doors, hitting up any workshops, any events that I can. I'm happy to meet with any residents, have coffee, discuss anything. My contact information is on my website, or they can contact me through my email, which is hello@stephsmyth.com. I'm happy to talk to anybody and to hear what their thoughts are about what's impacting our city.
And I like to sum it up with if people don't have the time for this 32 minutes, or they share with a friend or family, and they're trying to tell them why they should vote for you, what is the elevator speech? What you want people to remember that they can go to their neighbor, coworker, friends and say, hey, this is Steph. This is why.
I think that the biggest thing is what qualifications I bring to the table, which is my contracting experience, my union experience, labor negotiation, grievances, my process improvement experience, and being able to facilitate changes to processes, procedures, and the way business is done. I think that sets me apart from a lot of the candidates. And, when you're looking at the candidates, for me, looking at what qualifications they bring to the table, and the biggest bang you're going to get for your buck out of this candidate for the time that they are serving, that people should be paying attention to and really looking into. So that would be my biggest thing is, this is how I can help. This is how I want to help. Put me to work. I want to work for you.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate it. And thank you for volunteering to run for office. It's important for the dialogue. It's important for the conversation. It's important for people to hear different sides and ideas. And I hope whoever wins, loses, they all get together at the end and figure out how to move Newport forward together.
Exactly.
Steph, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it.
You are welcome, and we will talk to you soon. That is Steph Smyth, stephsmyth.com. hello@stephsmyth.com is her email. stephsmyth.com is her website. And if you missed any portion of this conversation, want to watch it again, want to share it, want to compare, contrast candidates, all available on whatsupnoop.com. Sign up for our newsletter, where we'll also There's audio, so it's podcast, so you can listen to it if you're on the go, and you can listen to just about every candidate. I think we have every candidate but one for school committee and every candidate but one for city council joining us either this week or next week. So hopefully before early voting starts on October 16th, you can make an educated vote when you early vote or on November 5th when you go to the polls. That's going to do it for this one. We will see you next time. Thanks for watching.